Working moms face unique challenges. One of those struggles is finding not just the work-life balance, but the work-mom balance too. Well, my next guest says to throw out the idea of work-life balance altogether and lean into the idea of work-life integration. Carly Hazen is the managing director at Prince Perelson, a working mom herself. And you talk about this classic dilemma, right? You address this of moms trying to, work like they don't have children and mother like they don't have a job. We hear that often. And that pressure can feel real.
Well, it's society's pressure on us. We're expected to be perfect in our jobs and perfect at home and perfect all the time. And there's this standard of excellence that becomes downright exhausting.
Yeah.
And, the whole classic work-life balance, I felt like for so long existed in a way that was really meant to separate and bifurcate our work from our life. And I get that. And it sounds, like the ideal experience is to really be able to focus on your work and then go home and leave it all behind and focus on your kids. It was becoming almost impossible to do that pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And through the pandemic, it just accelerated this work-life integration in a way none of us had ever seen before. And now the new normal is really, we're working all the time,
Define it then, work-life integration. What is that?
So work-life integration is more about not trying to separate the two and letting them naturally coexist, right? Because if you know and acknowledge that you have a career where you're going to probably need to check some emails after work and maybe take a call or prep for a presentation, then it is only fair and right for your real life to integrate right back into your work, which is why we're seeing this tremendous pushback in the workplace of women in particular saying, I need more workplace flexibility. Yeah. I would like a little bit more of a remote work life. I want to be able to take my kids to school because here's what I'm willing to do for my career. It's this pushback that's been really powerful, and it's a lot more realistic, right? To have this integration, because kids have performances at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're not all during convenient hours, and we want to make that. And also we may need to take a work call at 6:30 right when we're sitting down to dinner. So finding this integration, there's still balance within that, but I think it's a lot more realistic to just acknowledge that these two, and I don't like to separate them. I like my kids to know what I'm doing at work and why it's meaningful to me, and I like everyone at work to know when Jonah's got a performance that I need to make, at school.
It sounds more freeing. On the other hand, I would also say it would probably be most successful if you actually like your job. Because it does require, I think, as a mom, for you to say, if this is going to be part of the happiest part of my life, which I guess I'm speaking personally, but for me, that's my family.
That's right.
I have to really like what I do to let that all meld together.
That's right. And your kids can tell if you're getting off balance and you're missing too much over here, and you start to get really frustrated and not enjoying the experience. So I think it's really healthy to say to yourself first, I'm making these decisions for this reason. And we talk about guilt and being unapologetic, and that's really powerful, is I will say to myself, instead of feeling bad about this, I'm choosing this because.
Yes.
And if that argument always holds true and you're like, I'm missing this, but this fulfills me as a woman, as a human, and keep making that trade-off, then it's healthy. And you do need to love what you do, especially once you start having kids, because that trade-off becomes really painful when you know that you're choosing this and also missing out on this.
A few other philosophies you've embraced that you say have been helpful over the years. First is to ask for help, find a village, find a community, and make them part of this process.
It's a requirement. It really is. And your kids are better for it, and we're better for it, but it's so hard to ask for help. I think for one, yes, we really want to be independent women, but two, we really hate to burden our friends and family. They're just as busy as we are. So asking for help is really hard, but the really beautiful thing about it is if you're vulnerable with your friends and family and ask for help, it becomes a reciprocal relationship, and they feel more comfortable asking for help from you and from everyone else, and we all acknowledge that we need each other, and our kids need each other, and it's a beautiful thing.
I have this network in my neighborhood, and it is just sent from heaven. It's the best thing when it's all swimming together.
That's right.
You talked about being unapologetic. Confidence is beautiful. Own that. You also say working moms could benefit from lowering the bar a little bit.
Yes. I think I saw a quote from Michelle Obama that said, our kids don't need us to be superhuman. They just need us to be there. And I think that's powerful. I had a working mom. She was an educator for 30 years, and she always showed up. And also, to your point of, kind of acknowledging and having open communication about what your priorities are, talk to your kids and say, if it's important to you, it's important to me, but what is most important? Is it most important that I'm home to tuck you in? Is it most important that I can make a home-cooked meal?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll be like running around and trying to accomplish everything, and it's not even the stuff your kids care about.
You think you're serving
You
them.
think you are, and they're
That's
like,
a
I
great
don't really
idea.
care that you're here. I just want you here.
I love
So,
that.
and sometimes that's a weekly, ongoing conversation of where do they need you most in their life, and sometimes the answers surprise you.
How do you look at, Carly, how you're raising kids or the values you're instilling in them? How do you prioritize and make that work for you as a working mom?
Oh, that's such a great question. I try to raise the type of kids that I would want to know. I want to raise kids that are like the people that I want to surround myself with. And I think if you do that, you're constantly saying, "God, the people I want to be around are people who are open-minded and can be friends with people who think differently." Or I want to be with people who exhibit self-compassion or empathy or are resilient and don't get knocked over with every one of life's challenges. Those are the things that you have to then model, because your kids will become the people that they see, not the people you tell them to be.
Darn it.
If you're a tired working mom constantly, that may be what they exhibit. But yeah, raise the type of people you would want to know and want to be around.
I love that. And finally, another philosophy you embrace: no influence is as powerful as a mother's. Set an example of what is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you show your kids all of the incredible things they can be. You show them what work ethic looks like. You show them what prioritizing looks like. You show them about challenges and pushing yourself and increasing your intellect and helping other people. You know, being that community.
Right.
If you're going to ask of your community certain things, be willing to give it right back. And I think that reciprocal relationship is powerful for kids to see.
And to sum it all up, you were reminded of this quote: "It's not what you do for your children, but what you have taught them to do for themselves that will ultimately make them successful human beings."
I love that quote. I mean, the sad truth is, you know, if we're successful parents, we've raised them to not need us anymore.
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, but also if we're giving them the tools and we're showing them how to be self-reliant and independent and their own, you know, best champion, that's such a powerful ticket.
Yeah. I admire you and how you do this.
You too.
So thanks
working
for
mom.
pumping us up for
Yeah.
Mother's Day. It was a good chat to have. Thanks, Carly.